right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, episode 2.249. We had a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with headlines where we'll talk World Cup 2026, Miami's World Tour, and NWSL. And then weekly what if? We're actually going to switch it up on everybody. We're going to give a pop quiz to the lads. Premier League, we'll talk Arsenal-Liverpool, of course. Mitchell's twin, Maupay, and of course, Gio Reyna, the latest signing for Nottingham Forest. Then round the world with the AFCON and Asian Cup updates. And finally, stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of Tweedlerific beauties. First up, we got Mikey Powler. Mikey Powler? That's halfway right. Mikey Podcast / Mikey Fowler. Give us the update on what's on repeat on your Spotify. Your latest musical love.
I actually have someone I need to put you on to be honest with you. I'm not sure if you're going to be interested in it, but Sampha has an album out that I love. Please, everybody, go listen to Sampha.
Samfa. I have no idea.
Pha.
Oh, I was close. Okay. All right. Sampha. Shout out Sampha. Also on this week, we got Mitchell Goulet, aka Overtime Mitch, who's evil twin we will discuss later in the program. But for now, Mitch, give us an update on your knee. Are you basically 100% at this point? Are you back dunking on 8-year-olds?
I'd go 90%. I had a game, like a corporate game at Nike headquarters last week where I felt the best I've felt in a very long time. I am not dunking in game just yet, but I had like a rim grazer Sunday night, so we're at 90% right now. I'll be East Baying soon.
Okay, all right, and we'll take 90%. I mean, if you're grazing rim, you're getting up. I'm not going to jump with that. I'll tell you that. Not these days.
Advisable.
Not these days. All right, we'll head to headlines. So first up, World Cup 2026. FIFA came out with the big announcement. I mean, I didn't really think this was a big announcement, but they made, occasion for like an hour and a half long program on Fox. I don't know if this was just streaming or what. I will admit I did not take the time out of my Sunday to actually watch it, with all the ridiculous pageantry and blah, blah, blah. I didn't watch, but I did, get the cliff notes on what happened. And so basically what they did is they gave us all the details about the wins and the wheres of the World Cup coming up not this summer, obviously, but 2026. And so the quick and dirty of it is there's a few takeaways. Number one, the biggest one for me was the U.S. men's national team. All their group stage games are going to be played on the West Coast. So they're going to play in LA on June 12th, Seattle on June 19th, and then Los Angeles again on June 25th. Again, this is in 2026. We obviously don't know who they're going to be playing because they haven't even done qualification yet. The other headlines here, the opening match of the entire tournament will be played at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. That'll be on June 11th. One semifinal will be in Atlanta. The other semifinal will be in Dallas. And Dallas, I think, was the odds-on favorite to host the final in everybody's opinion, or in everybody's expectations. But turns out the final will be hosted at MetLife in New York / New Jersey, which I know a lot of New Jersey people don't even like, don't like that very much. But anyway, to people from outside the U.S., it's going to be in New York. That's where the final is. So, Mitch, let's go with you first. Let's just ignore, the show itself and the pageantry and Infantino looking like an absolutely awkward dweeb. What do you make? What do you make of all this?
If you wasted your time watching that, then that's on you. There's no need to watch a World Cup event reveals like that. But I like the final at MetLife. People are going to have a nightmare trying to get out there by the subway, and when people fly into the States and think, oh, the finals in New York City. No, it's not. You're taking 2 trains and an hour plus to get out to MetLife, and then you're going to be stuck there afterwards, and good luck getting an Uber home or back to the subway, wherever. But I like it. I don't think that there is a stadium in the United States that is better equipped to hold it. I think Dallas would be a nightmare. Plus, they had the whole fallout at SoFi with the revenue sharing and everything. I don't know what's the semantics of that, but this feels like the most accessible stadium that we have right now. So it's a good decision.
Okay. Mikey, any thoughts on the final or, US and where we're playing all our group stage games?
Yes, I do have opinions. First of all, the thing that I think not a lot of people are discussing when it comes to this tournament is uh the scheduling with the travel. I think there's a direct correlation to the miles traveled to poor performance in these group stage games. So everybody should be paying a lot of attention to how many teams have to cross and how frequently they do. It's a bigger country than they're used to, I think, for a lot of these tournaments. So that can be important. Second, if any cheeks or very rich individuals are looking for a place to stay in 2026, I am now the owner of a multi-million-dollar property, but for 1 week of the rest of my lifetime. So hit me up. No, the whole idea of it being in New York City probably. I mean, that's where all the players go on holiday. You see them posting in Times Square, which is like hell on earth, but they don't know that. Marcelo walked around New York for a month thinking he was the man and nobody knew who he was. It's perfect for this. Nobody's going to care at all in this city. It's going to be a lot of new people coming to Times Square. So it's what soccer thinks of America is New York City. So it makes sense to be here, in my opinion.
All right. I think there was a lot of knee-jerk reactions to the US playing all their group stage games on the West Coast. And that just comes from the negativity that surrounds the US program at this point. I think it actually makes sense. I mean, if we're trying to do some damage and make our way, deep in this tournament, it does stink for fans that the games are all going to be in the West Coast, not just on the West Coast, but two in one city, and one in Seattle. That does stink if we're trying to expose more casual fans to the next generation of hopefully American superstars. But you know what? Hopefully there's going to be some knockout games, and I assume those will probably be elsewhere. I guess we'll see on that. But I think it's best for the team. I think Mikey already said it that we're not doing this. This isn't the Euro 2024 all in Germany. The US is a whole different animal. So going coast to coast, and it would basically have to be coast to coast because there's not a goddamn thing in the middle of the country other than Kansas City and is it Nashville? They have one. There's nothing in the Midwest, what I consider to be the Midwest. I know Kansas City is technically Midwest, but there's just nothing if you look at the map. Zero and up to Minnesota, Chicago. It stinks. This is me just belly aching about the fact that Chicago isn't on the list. Anyway, I think though apart from the negativity that surrounds the program, I think it's probably best that they just sort of focused our games somewhere, be it on the West Coast, East Coast, doesn't matter. Other than that, yeah, I don't know how they filled all that programming with like 5 announcements that we could have covered in about 30 seconds. But shout out to FIFA. They always know how to throw a party. The big sarcasm there. All right, so move on to the next headline, which is the Inter Miami's World Tour, which is off to a hot start. So out of the 3 games, the first 3 games of their World Tour, 2 of them were in Saudi Arabia. They lost both of them. The second one, they got absolutely spanked 6-0. This was the one where all the talk was this was going to be Ronaldo and Messi and sort of their last hurrah. Everybody come out and see them play one more time. Then it turned out I can't remember who went down first. I think it was Ronaldo. Came out about 2 days beforehand that Ronaldo was going to miss the game due to injury. And then it came out day of that Messi was going to miss the game due to injury. Now, it did turn out that Messi played like 7 minutes or something like that because it was basically contractually obligated to get out on the field. If he would have gotten hurt in that 7 minutes, oh my God, that would have been something. But anyway, the whole point is this. They lost their 2 games in Saudi Arabia, the second one in embarrassing fashion, like 6-0. Not good. Then they went to Hong Kong, and the whole nation, island, whatever, is like all excited to see Messi number 1 and Luis Suarez number 2. Neither of them played, and the whole Hong Kong just went berserk. There was all sorts of videos of people booing and trashing signs of the Inter Miami team. So, I mean, first question, Mitch, is this, I mean, basically, the whole point of doing this is to raise the profile of Inter Miami and MLS. I mean, I guess you could say they were successful in that, but that's about it. Like, has this just been an absolute failure?
We're talking about it. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a failure. I don't think fans have the right to boo a team that they are not fans of, that they're not supporters of. Like this is a preseason tour for a team that you ordinarily wouldn't care about unless they had Lionel Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba. Um, for those fans to come out, I obviously they expected those guys to play, but for those fans to come out and like boo the team for not playing them, I don't know. That feels really disingenuous. But I'm not going to sit here and say that like Inter Miami is not to blame. The Hong Kong government put out a statement saying that Inter Miami had taken government funds to put on this tour, with the not written but verbal promises that like, well, yeah, obviously our flagpole or our tentpole player is going to play. Um, just didn't. So it's a mess. I'm not going to say it's a failure, but I'll say it's a mess.
It's definitely a mess. And yeah, I saw the Hong Kong government put out a statement. Um, I agree with you to a certain extent about the, players or fans. If you're not an Inter Miami fan, what your expectations are and what are you booing really? But I do know that, this game was advertised and,
Yep.
based on Messi and Suarez being there, and the prices were
And I'm sure it was
astronomical.
priced that way
Yes,
too. Yeah. All right.
exactly.
So yeah. Yep.
People are paying like 500 or more for tickets. It's just,
Fucking
I can
hell.
totally understand that. And it's like,
Okay.
we could have seen this train wreck coming, right? It's a preseason. So these guys are
They're
not in
both
shape.
40.
They're both 40 years old. This is just, it seems like we should have seen this coming. And Mikey, what are your thoughts here?
Just go, just this is what testimonials are for. Like not preseason tournaments. If you need to see them that badly and we need to get them in every country in the world, why don't we do a mess? Wow, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. Messi and Ronaldo should partner together and do testimonials all across the globe when they retire with a bunch of their friends
They would
and
make
let
a lot
people
of
see
money.
them. If they want to do it this badly, the idea of it being during preseason does not make a lot of sense. So
Yeah, we don't
Messi,
need the
yeah,
guise of it being under a club and it being like a semi-competitive match. If people just want to see those two guys, when there will be a last dance. Now that we didn't have the one that was like originally scheduled, the powers that be will make it happen. But we don't need it to be under the guise of a competitive 11-a-side football match. We just go on tour.
Fair.
correct. This
That's
doesn't
fair.
need to be. This doesn't need to be actual. Call it what this is. WWE. Like, let's just like relax on the ethics of sport conversation around these two. If they're not going to play, don't bill it as such. And if they want to play a thing together, why don't you consider it a spectacle, and less so a preseason? So
That's fair. That's fair. I understand why Inter Miami is doing this. I don't even think it's really, everybody keeps talking about it as a cash grab. And maybe that's what it is at the base level. But I think it's just about, getting their name out there and raising awareness and, clout, internet followers, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I love the idea of a sort of just a standalone, kind of like PK, he's doing this Kings League thing,
totally.
right? Just them
They pick
do
dates
their
in
own
random
thing.
cities and they text their friends and say, "Would you want to play in this one or that one?" And
Just do
we
it.
got something here.
There you go. I love this idea. Hopefully they didn't actually hear us so we can like patent it or something. That's possible, right? All
I
right.
think that's what that means.
Yeah, right. Okay. Last headline. Bay FC. This is the newest addition to NWSL. They are launching this season, and they have made a couple splashes with recent signings. They signed Asisat Oshwala from Barcelona. She's a Nigerian 29-year-old. She can play. And then they just signed somebody, I think today, Jen Beattie from Arsenal. So Bay FC coming in hot with some big signings. I know that Gotham FC also has been collecting talent. A lot of U.S. women's national team players, I believe. And so that'll be a little interesting East Coast rivalry there. But good to see sort of Bay FC making moves like this, because this is the kind of thing that NWSL really needs to. They really should have been doing this for a while now. So hopefully they're going to start importing, some big names and get putting butts in seats and getting a buzz around the league, because that's what we need. Okay, we'll move on. Weekly what if time. So this week, I do as every now and again, I like to switch things up on these guys. And instead of a hypothetical, I'm going to throw a pop quiz at you guys. And they've not been prepped for this at all, although I did tease it a little bit earlier. They didn't know that. So Euro 2024. Give me, and this is going to be played in Germany, as we mentioned earlier. Give me the top 5. Mikey, make sure you're not Googling anything right now. Eyes up. I don't know where your Facebook thing, what's that?
Vision
Apple
thing.
Yeah, the vision thing. Yeah, I don't know how that thing even works. Never mind. Anyway, top 5 odds to win Euro 2024 in order.
Got to start with France.
You can work together. Yeah. You can work together on this one.
Okay. We'll take France at number 1.
Lock it in.
It's gotta be England at 2.
Yeah, based on is this bookmakers? Because everyone bets on England, they would put them number 2.
Yes,
yeah.
These
There's
are
an
book
England
odds.
tax.
Book odds. They are number
England
2.
2.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say England 2.
You guys are
okay.
2 for 2 so far.
Portugal's not there anymore. Spain is maybe there. Germany is not there.
Put Spain at like 4 or 5.
I think let's just pull out the rest of them. There's Germany, Spain,
Italy.
Did Italy even qualify? That's a joke. Nobody get mad at me. I'm gonna say is Croatia in there?
Croatia's got to be. I mean, world ranking wise, they're up there, but book wise, to win this, I don't know. They play such a boring game. Everything is 1-0 with them.
Netherlands, no. Belgium.
Little past their prime.
I'm putting Belgium in mine, and I would say
that's got to be at the 5 spot.
It's got to be Spain or Italy, Spain, Belgium.
Italy, Spain, Belgium. Okay.
You say that's 3, 4, 5 for you?
That's mine. Yeah.
I'll put Spain at 3. I kind of like Germany up there. Host country.
Which one's Kane playing for, Germany or England? I know he got moved. I'm confused.
He shall be playing with England. I don't know.
I'm gonna say France, Italy. I'm sorry, France, England, Spain, Italy, Germany.
Okay, interesting. You guys were pretty good. The fact you got the first 2 is good. Spain is in there. Germany is in there. Germany's 3rd. So people are giving them kind of a
wow,
like a real home
country
advantage.
Really.
Why? Yeah, I guess that's why. Yeah.
I mean, they've been bad, but they are at home, and they're Germany in a big tournament. So Spain 4, and then Portugal. Okay. Portugal.
See, I don't see that at all.
I don't know where that comes from. Is that just people betting on Ronaldo?
No. Well,
I
don't know.
If he's in the squad, he doesn't start.
I would hope not. But listen, obviously that's not what people are betting on with Portugal. They're stacked. After that, it goes Belgium, Italy, Netherlands, Denmark, Croatia.
We named all of them.
That was not bad.
There's a few dark horses in my brain on that. I like Euro dark horse bets. That usually comes through, but we'll get to that later.
Greece 2002, I believe.
Yeah.
All right,
Denmark.
We'll move on to Premier League time. So this week we finally got back in the swing of things, and we got back in the swing of things in a big way because there were 2 full match days, or slates of games over the past week. So we had a midweek slate, and then we had a weekend slate. Some of the games, I'll just sort of throw out some of the games because we're not going to go through all of these. Obviously, the biggest one I think everybody was watching was not the last one, since Manchester City just played Brentford today, but the last one on Sunday. Arsenal beat Liverpool 3-1 in a game that was a lot of fun. I'll just say that. Leave it there for now. There were some results involving Wolves. They came close against United, and they spanked Chelsea on the weekend. Chelsea was another one. So they got two big L's this week. They got lost big to Liverpool, and they lost relatively big at home to Wolves.
It sucks,
4-2.
man. I hate seeing that.
Sure you do. Some other games as well, Tottenham and Brentford, which I will get into if nobody else does. But Mikey, let's start with you. You can start with Arsenal Liverpool if you want, but what was the sort of biggest or most interesting result of the past week or so?
Um, Interesting. I mean, there's no it. Arsenal this season have beaten City and Liverpool, and in my head, that was an unattainable 5-year plan type of thing not too long ago. So as far as interesting goes, I'd be remiss not to point out the fact that it's a milestone in our fandom as Arsenal fans just to get there. But really, City having Holland return and Foden maintain what he was doing before De Bruyne came back and working them in the mix, and then you blink and there's 15 match weeks left and they have 2 games in hand and they're lurking and you're like, how the fuck did we get here again? That to me was like, I'm gonna leave this match week thinking obviously about the Arsenal game, but in the back I could be like, there's just this daunting feeling about City again, and it's back big time right now.
Yeah, big time deja vu. And I do
This
think
sucks.
this week was sort of a reminder of what we sort of think is going to happen and what we thought was going to happen with, when De Bruyne comes back, when they get Rodri, and now
And
they're
I
just
cannot
cooking again.
stress Foden hit another gear in this last De Bruyne injury, and he is still they're moving him wide. You can't find a way to make him ineffective right now.
You can see his improvement every single week. It's night and day from
Unbelievable.
last.
Yeah,
The
they're
kid,
fuck.
the kid can hoop.
And
He
now
is
they're back,
really,
and
really good.
he's terrifying. So what the fuck are we doing here? So
Yes, it's worth pointing out that, as Mikey said, they only have one game in hand now. But if they win that, they're top of the league. So it's just big bad City all over again. Now back to Arsenal Liverpool. I was a few weeks ago, I was sort of thinking about, anointing Liverpool as my dark horse favorite to win the league. But then this Mo Salah injury is going to be bad. It's going to be tough, and I think this game against Arsenal cemented that. And now, I'm not going to be the weirdo who's going out on a limb at this point and saying Liverpool is going to win it, because I don't think they are. I think City's going to win it. But this game, you guys, first of all, the game was a lot of fun as a neutral, semi-neutral. It was just a high quality game. You guys were going at each other. Arsenal was just playing the better team. I saw a lot of people on, Twitter, shockingly, complaining about this and that and Anthony Taylor and blah, blah, blah. No, get that out of here. Arsenal was just the better team. Now, if you want to complain about the fact that Liverpool was missing some huge players, Donkey Darwin came on at the end and he made them look a lot more dangerous against your defense. But they were without Mo Salah, they were without Jobeslai. So like there's some important pieces missing from the game. But the game that was actually played and the teams that were out there, Arsenal was just head and shoulders. You guys were a better team than them at this point in the season, and with the people out, that were out there. And so you deserve that win. I don't want to hear any whining and complaining from Liverpool fans. The one thing that I did want to mention real quick, Jamie Carragher was the latest offender of this. Enough with the fucking fun police. Let people celebrate a win. Like Arsenal beating Liverpool in a game like this is it's a huge game. And it puts you guys, back, well, not back, and you've been in the title race, but it cements you as being a clear cut team that is going to be there at the end, probably behind City, but you're going to be there. And this is a huge win. Like, if there's one thing on Twitter or socials that like I'm just so sick of right now, it's seeing all these people, talking shit about a team celebrating. It's the lamest, form of shit talking. It's like the Neil
lazy.
Maupe of trolling. It's just like it's lazy, it's easy, it's lowbrow, and fuck you. Let people enjoy things. Period. And Jamie Carragher getting on Odegaard for taking pictures of the cameraman. Fuck you. Like I like Jamie Carragher. That is just a brain dead thing to get mad about. Like the Arsenal photographer who's been like a lifelong Arsenal fan, and Odegaard taking the camera, doing a thing that, you know, I think that basically shows him to be, number one, a good person, probably a good captain. Like I just can't get on board with Carragher and that type of fun police bullshit. Let's leave that shit in the past. Okay. Anyway, rant over. Mitchell, anything to add there on Liverpool Arsenal?
No, you covered most of it. I thought part of the reason that we looked so good was how strong we were defensively. We limited touches around the 18. I think that's why that win looked so commanding, was because of how strong, and like Liverpool's struggles at that end are not going to continue. You're not going to face many teams that are better than us defensively. So with Darwin coming back to health, with Salah coming back soon, Szoboszlai coming back as well, like Liverpool will hit a stride, but we were the better team on the day, and we showed it. We played for the first time in a couple weeks. I feel like we've played like a full 90 minutes of football where we were turned on for the entire game, and there were very few lapses of judgment. I mean, the goal, but you can't really fault anybody for that. There's a miscommunication, but that happens sometimes, as you can see with Allison and Van Dijk. So really, really happy with the performance. We're on to next week.
Glad you pointed out to Allison. A lot of people
Yeah.
were very exercised with my tweet about Allison making as many mistakes in that game as Matt Turner's made all season.
Well,
Which, yeah, I might be, you know, exaggerating a little bit, but I do think it's just interesting, you know, the fact that you know, an American will just get the shit on the first thing he does wrong, whereas a guy, I get it. Allison has a long track record of being an incredibly
He's probably a little better.
whatever.
that's a hot take.
I'm just starting the conversations here. I'm just starting the conversations. Other games from the week. So quick shout out to Wolves. Mikey, I think you've been on the Wolves train for a little while
I've
here.
been giving out Cunha scorer assists every week all year.
So they came, you know, within a whisker of getting a draw against United, for whatever that's worth, admittedly, although I do think United is, you know, they're not bad at this point. They stomped Chelsea in a game that I thought was like not even as close as 4-2 on the score line. So what, Mikey, let's go to you. What is Wolves' ceiling this season? They're at 10th right now.
Retaining players, sadly. If they can start next season somehow. I mean, they're not going to keep Neto for much longer. Cunha's gone in the summer probably as well, as much as I hate to say it. They're just a team that, you know, the goal of top half finishes, profit, and getting back there again with a new crop of guys is a very fine place to be, especially in this climate. It's 10th best team in the Prem, is the richest club in Europe outside of there. So I think it's great. I honestly, it's Pedro Neto since he's been healthy these last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. What an unbelievable player he is. Yeah, I do love that club, but I mean, I want to talk more about Chelsea being too broke to fire Pochettino. I think that's more interesting to me than anything else right now.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. A good transition as well. So Chelsea lost to Liverpool 4-1, and then, you know, lost to Wolves 4-2. That's a tough week right there. I people keep asking me like what I think about like Pochettino and you know, are they going to keep him? Like, I think Mikey, you're probably right. I don't think that, I don't know if they're too poor to fire him thing, although that's probably part of it. It's just, are you going to add a whole nother sort of layer of upheaval to a club that has just been in, you know, out of sorts for years now? I just feel like that's not the way to go. Pochettino has proven that he is a good manager. I think I'm not on board with the knee jerk. We got to fire.
What's he won?
A lot of games, and a lot of banners. Mikey, thank you for pointing that out.
You say he's proven himself to be a good manager. He has no trophies.
Yeah, I don't base things on trophies, Mikey. You know this. I base them on vibes and and regular season wins. All right. Any thoughts on Chelsea, Mitch?
No, but I do want to talk about Luton.
Okay, fair
the
enough.
form that they're in. 4-4 against Newcastle, and then the match week before, also another 4 goals. They look like a team that is determined to stay up despite their position in the table. They look like they're really hitting their stride. It's unfortunate that they got a draw after dropping 4 against Newcastle. But they are fun football to watch. I'm not going to say that they're definitely going to stay up, but they look like they're fighting that way. And I just want to give them the moderate amount of flowers that they deserve right now.
Yeah,
I think
Everton should stop dancing.
Yeah.
Well, listen. So
Fun's
Everton,
over. They're back in a fucking race.
that's what I said last week. Is like quietly we all talked
Yeah.
about how Everton sort of responded to the 10-point deduction by playing out of their shoes.
Forgot who
Yeah,
they were.
They have quietly done the opposite lately, and in fact they're in the relegation zone now. Again, that's with 10 points off. God knows what will happen if they come down with another punishment this season, which they're talking about for Nottingham Forest and Everton. But Luton is out of the relegation zone. Yes, that has the asterisk of the 10-point deduction for Everton, but the fact they are not even like last has got to be a huge achievement, given what number one, given the money that they have spent,
Yeah.
and number two, the expectations, largely because of the money they did not spend, were coming into the season was that they were going to do nothing. And yet here they are out of the relegation zone, playing well. I mean, they're going to have to really, stay healthy, number one, which is tough, and keep playing like this. But if they somehow stay up, wow, that would be insane. So I'm glad you brought that up. Good shout, Mitch. The other game that we have to talk about, well, actually, no, quickly. Bournemouth and Forest is the game I put down 1-1 at the weekend. The game itself was pretty forgettable, but the point that I wanted to bring up is Gio Reyna. So the Gio Reyna transfer went through. He showed up in Nottingham, played almost immediately. He came in off the bench. The game itself was forgettable. His performance was, he didn't do anything out of this world or anything. He looked like a decent playmaking midfielder. But did we talk about this last week? Because I thought last week we were talking
It
about
hadn't happened.
Right, it
last
hadn't
week.
happened, and he could have gone to. We were thinking maybe Spain, maybe France, blah blah blah. So, Mitch, what are your thoughts on this move, Gio Reyna to Nottingham Forest?
Just alone. Right before he left, he signed that new deal with Dortmund as well. With there's no option to buy in this loan, so you're assuring that he will be back at Dortmund at the end of the season. I like it. It's a new look for him. He came on in like the 78th. You only played 12 minutes, got some good touches in, didn't lose the ball, looked comfortable enough, up to speed and everything. So you can't really judge too much on the performance. But I like the move as a whole. Dortmund do not look like they're challenging for a Bundesliga title this year. They could make a late push, but as it stands, it doesn't look like it's Dortmund's year. So I like the fact that they're gonna ship Gio out, get him some quality playing time in arguably the toughest league in the world, and then have him come back to Dortmund and maybe take on more responsibility in that Dortmund side. It's a good move for him. I don't feel super strongly either way, but like I'm glad that he's going to be seeing the field.
Yeah, when we thought it was going to be like a sale, like he was going to a new club, and but then at that point I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure." Nottingham Forest is really the place that I would pick for him. But if he's just going to go there for 6 months, I mean, this is going to be a totally new experience. Obviously, a different league. Everybody talks about the physicality, the Premier League, and all that. I mean, let's just number one hope he stays healthy. I mean, that just sort of goes without saying. But like the fact that they could and probably will be in a relegation battle. I mean, that is going to be some high pressure, some real a new look for him, and a new
challenge.
a new challenge, which is exactly I think what will add some seasoning to the mix, which you can always use. Mikey, what do you think on Gio to Nottingham Forest?
Looks like Odoi got hurt. Creaks the door open a little bit further. Just needs to play consistently. I've always just said that about him. So the most interesting thing to me is going to be where across the front three they play him and where he looks most comfortable. So, nothing crazy for me. You fear for these guys that get a big transfer or stay, highly regarded in the American community early, and then struggle to play. So that needs to change. Stat.
Fair enough. The only other thing I'll say is that I'm hoping Nottingham Forest give up a shitload of goals from here on, at least until Matt Turner gets back in the net, because they went and bought yet another goalkeeper. So while they did really smart business in bringing in a guy like Gio Reyna, who I think could be a difference maker for them, the fact they went and just got another keeper, F minus in the chat for the business development there, talent acquisition of Nottingham Forest. And hopefully Sells, who last time he was in the Prem he was awful. So hopefully he does that again and we see more Matt Turner. Lastly, on the Premier League, before we move on to the quick, like a weekend preview, Spurs, Brentford, 3-2. Tottenham got out of there with the win. But the big talking point was, as I said, Mitchell Goulet's evil twin, Neil Maupay. Honestly, every time I see him, it just becomes more apparent how, separated at birth you two were. The similarities are like, they're right in your face. But his trolling, I've been the biggest kind of Maupay fan just because Mikey hated him so much. I have never done a 180 faster than during that Brentford Tottenham game. I hate that little rat now. The fact that
I quite like him.
I knew this was going to happen. We were going to both switch sides on this one. Him throwing the darts and just being an absolute dick. Like, that's not even being clever. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, it is.
The fun police.
Absolutely is.
It is.
That's a chess move.
So easy. It's so
There's
easy.
never been somebody. No, yeah, you're wrong.
See,
So
you
easy.
earlier you equated making fun or shitting on people's happiness to Neil Maupay level shithousery. I would go as far as to say that's the complete opposite. I think he's an artist at what he does. I think everything he does is incredibly calculated, a little premeditated, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And he doesn't give a fuck about the consequences of it. He doesn't need to back it up with a win. He's fine posting about it afterwards and being like, oh, maybe called that one a little too early. That we need someone like that. That is a shithouser at his core.
You're right. It's absolutely calculated. He's like the Brad Marchand of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that Marchand, he's got his sort of, calculations and he knows what he's doing as well.
Yep.
But I guess I've never really been in a situation where Marchand has been, himself to like the Blackhawks in a game where I was really, I remember we played, Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals. It must have been before Marchand. Anyway,
that was early Marchand.
Early, okay. So he wasn't quite the level.
He didn't quite have the reputation he had. Yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't remember hating him. Maupay, on the other hand, I hate that guy now. Absolutely hate him, which I honestly probably is just sort of it shows that it's a compliment. It is a compliment probably, but I'd still say that the doing the darts thing, like if you want to do that like late in the game, if you just got a game winner, I can get on board with it kind of, but doing it in like a 5th minute or something like that when we got a whole game to play, that was just stupid, to be honest, because I think he fired Tottenham up. But good for him. Listen, he got me and Mikey to switch sides on Team Maupay. So we'll just go from here.
Did you pull that Marchand comp out of your ass just now? Because that's very accurate. Both kind of short, annoying guys, big noses, can perform on the big stage sometimes. Like that's a good comp.
Every now and again.
Yeah.
There's certain sports that I know well enough that I can throw something out like that.
All right.
There we go. Listen, maybe the Blackhawks will be relevant again sometime soon, so I can.
No,
we will soon enough. All right, we're gonna skip power rankings, but we're gonna do a quick weekend preview. There's a few games that I'll at least throw out to see which ones you guys are gonna be watching this weekend. We got Villa hosting Manchester United.
Love that game.
Villa, by the way, talk about schizophrenic in their results.
Watkins is back.
They got dog walked at home at whatever Fortress Villa. dog walked by Newcastle. Tyler Terrence was at the game. He was telling me about it. It's like the vibes are like, this is not what I was expecting. And then this weekend, they just took an absolute dump right on Sheffield United, who, by the way, it seemed to be the team that everybody thought Luton Town was going to be this season. They look not good and just not at Premier League level. So we got Villa hosting Manchester United, West Ham hosting Arsenal, and Tottenham hosting Brighton. Those are the three that stood out to me. What game are you going to be watching this weekend, Mikey?
Yeah. West Ham's been bad, which means they're going to beat us 2-0. Yeah, I don't want to make this all about Wolves, but I'm super curious if they can roll Brentford. Brentford's been giving up a lot of goals, obviously, as you know. I'm interested to see that game. I don't want to hear about Tottenham Brighton. I'm actually sick of De Zerbi now as well. So that game has no interest to me at all.
Overexposed, huh?
I hope it's a 0-0 stinker.
That would be bad for my overtrain coming up in a little bit. I'm just not surprised at all that Tottenham gave up points against Everton this weekend. It's just I smelled that coming a mile away. I'm actually a little happy that we didn't lose that game. But I will be, if there's one game, I think Tottenham Brighton, when we play, it's always a lot of fun. We played earlier in the season, it was like 4-2, 4-3, something like that. So I am excited about that game, and hopefully Tottenham can get back to, the way we have, gotten excited about Tottenham playing with, just going, because that game against Everton, we being, us, Tottenham, Spurs. The fact that we just looked, our game plan, Ange's subs were very sort of conservative, very defensive. It's not like him. It's not like what we've gotten used to. So I hope we get back to the sort of free flowing, balls to the wall style that we have come to know and love from Ange Ball. Now, Mitch, what game are you going to be watching this weekend?
Luton Sheffield, relegation implications there. I'd love to see Luton stay up just because I like the way they're playing lately, scoring a lot of goals, conceding a lot as well. But yeah, like you said, Sheffield is the team that everybody thought Luton would be, and Luton has proved them otherwise. So I'm pretty high on them. I'm pretty medium on them, I should say. And then we do need some revenge from what West Ham did to us last year, or last time we played, when they beat us 2-0. That was just a deflating loss. I'd love to go in and roll them, but like Mikey said, they've been playing shit lately, so they're gonna get up for a game against us. And then Palace Chelsea is gonna be.
Yikes!
No, I'm not gonna say that one. I think there's a lot of goals in Villa and United. I think there's a lot of goals. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there have been a lot lately with Villa. Yeah. So, and United as well. The Wolves game from the midweek, and then 3-0 against West Ham at the weekend. So, okay, don't mind that at all. We'll move on though. Let's go to round the world quickly. So we are now in the semifinals for both the AFCON and Asian Cup. So in AFCON, we got Nigeria playing South Africa and Ivory Coast hosting the DR Congo. In Asia, well, I'll start with there. Any thoughts from you guys on the matchups, how the tournament's going? Anything stand out?
Nigeria getting rid of their coach.
Ivory Coast. I'm
sorry. Yeah. Getting rid of their coach and then making a semifinal is just so AFCON. It's awesome.
So AFCON, and it goes deeper than that too. So they stunk it up in the group stage. They're hosting this tournament, by the way. They stunk it up in the group stage, fired their coach, snuck in as one of the better third place finishers in the group. Then they've gone on without a real coach. They've gone on to win both of their knockout games so far after scoring late equalizers and winning either on penalties or late in the game. And that's it. It's just a crazy. I mean, it's got to be one of the craziest runs, in like a major tournament like this. Like they don't even have a coach at this point, and they stunk in the group stage. So I'm rooting for them. How do you not get on board with Ivory Coast at this point, unless you're from Nigeria, South Africa, or Congo? Mikey, any thoughts there or Asian Cup?
I've been watching both of them pretty extensively, to be honest with you. South Korea's miracle bailouts in the last minute of extra time in back-to-back rounds is pretty insane.
Yeah.
FanDuel not counting Son's goal as an anytime goal, even just because it was extra time, is pretty annoying. And I'm opposite of you with Ivory Coast. I follow a couple people that like Congo, and they are one of the funnier groups of fans. Like the Scott, and if you look at their results, they are awful at times, like losing to like thousand FIFA ranking teams, and have the ability to do this. So I am all for Congo making the final. I need that. I need that in my life. So I have Iran winning the Asian Cup. South Korea's luck running out in the final.
It has to at some point. Like I've been following it very, very not closely, but it seems like people think that the team does not, and specifically Son Heung-min does not like Jurgen Klinsmann. It's there. I don't know if this is like a real thing or if it's just like a Twitter narrative, but there's like this people with all these videos of like Son not like shaking hands with Klinsmann and like people drawing all sorts of conclusions from it. That's kind of a really funny story. That's if they just keep winning. I mean, I hate that they keep winning. By the way, obviously we need Son back. My fantasy team needs.
Yeah, I want him to get to the final and lose. That'd be perfect.
Oh, I love seeing Son happy, and he does just seem like genuinely just so happy when South Korea does well. But like we need him back. We need him back soon. So the semifinals in the Asian Cup, by the way, Jordan is playing South Korea and Iran is playing Qatar. I think that shout on Iran is probably a good one. They've looked like a really good team, and also that helps our FIFA rating since we beat them. Not that anybody cares about that at this point.
That's what I was thinking of.
Right. All right, we'll go to stoppage time. Put a bow on this episode. So, Ivan Toney's best bets here. We are not cooking with thermonuclear gas. We're barely cooking with Crisco at this point. So last week I got 2 wins, 2 for 5, 2 and 3. I don't know how the Mansfield Notts County game on Saturday just absolutely wiped me out. This weekend was one of those weekends where you like have to rethink your whole betting strategy.
Are you talking about the most goals in the history of the Premier League?
Yes, and the fact that I came out of that weekend decimated. It was like, what am I doing wrong here?
You are insane. You could have bet the over in every Prem game.
I know, you could have basically just done over and both teams to score, except for I think the Villa game, and you'd be like absolutely killing it right now. I'm digging too deep. Maybe that's the conclusion here. I'm the second division Romanian games. Maybe that's not where we should be. Where we should be looking. So this week, that was a bad intro for this because we're digging deep.
You're going out there, yeah.
we're digging deep this week in the five-a-side overtrain. So on Wednesday, not so deep actually. We're going to go with Aston Villa and Chelsea in the FA Cup. You've already talked about how Aston Villa, a lot of goals in those games. Chelsea, same thing. Usually they're getting scored on a bunch. This is at quote unquote Fortress Villa too. So, maybe Aston Villa will just carry the load on Wednesday. Either way, I expect a lot of goals in that. Thursday, Oostend and Royal Antwerp in the Belgian version of the FA Cup. Not a lot of games to choose from, by the way, on Thursday. Really had to dig deep on that one. Friday, we are going to Peru, where Cienciano is hosting Sporting Cristal. And Sporting Cristal, this is a team that like there's some games there that have like maybe 1 or 2 goals, but they have some games that are of like 8 and 11 and some big numbers. So I'm hoping that we get that version of Sporting Cristal on Friday. On Saturday, I actually mentioned this earlier. I think Tottenham Brighton is where we're going to go on Saturday. I thought very long and very hard about going with Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern in obviously the biggest matchup in the Bundesliga this season. Bayer, by the way, is still undefeated on the season. I don't know. I just don't trust either one of those teams to score, though. Bayern hasn't been the same. Bayer lately has not been scoring a lot, so maybe it'll end up being like 5-3, but I just don't trust it at this point as much as this Tottenham hosting Brighton. And then Sunday, we're not going to the second division of Romania, but we are going to the first division of Romania. FCSB is hosting OSK Sepsi. And so I think that game is going over. So there's your five-a-side overtrain. Let's go get rich parlay. Actually, don't parlay, but just go get rich all the same. Mitchell, where are you going this week?
So you can listen to Sam, and that's fine. You can listen to him go to Peru and go to Belgium and think about all of his research that he's done, and that's good for you. But I'm 6 of my last 6 for my last best bets. So who are we really going to listen to here? I've got 3 of them for you this week. Nothing too crazy. They're all in the Prem. I like both teams to score in Villa United, as I mentioned. Goals in that one. I like Spurs money line against Brighton. Brighton have not been impressive lately. Spurs need 3 points, as we've seen that they've just dropped recently. I think you guys are going to bounce back a little bit. And then I like Luton over Sheffield. I've been singing their praises all podcast. Put those together, you're at plus 380. Let's go 9 of 9.
Okay, I like it. Mikey, what do you got for us?
It's too early to get actual prop lines down. But there's 2 games that I guarantee have at least 2 goals each side. And that is Bayern,
Okay.
and it's Girona, Real Madrid. That Girona Atletico game took years off my life, and I think we're going to see it again. I adore watching Girona play. I actually don't know if it's home or away. I just need to make sure that it's away. It's at Madrid. So they're still going to go for it. They're still going to play great. Savio, as you saw today, I tweeted back a couple months ago, bring him to the carpet. But little did I know he was just a Citigroup money washing asset. I'm going to talk about that in GOAWs in a minute, but I would like to. There's going to be a lot of goals in both those games. So however you like to play your player props, I'm on Savio score assist. I'm on that big striker to score for Girona. I don't know his name. I forget. And I can't get a read on whoever scores with Madrid. Usually it's when I don't bet Hoslu, it's Hoslu, but I'm going to take whatever guys play in the 9 for them on that specific day as well. And then in Germany, the Bonifaces, the Wirtz assists, the Kane goals, I think all of them hit. So those 2 games get rich.
Okay. I'm writing these down. I'm going to add Girona. I've been riding them on the overtrain hard lately, but then the last couple of games they haven't been.
When they play at home, they're coming off a 0-0 at home, so this is not going to count for people. But if you haven't seen a game in that stadium, check one out.
Okay, we will move on to GOAWs. So, Mikey, it sounds like you're all ready to go.
Yeah.
What you got?
Troyes.
Troyes.
Like,
I have no idea. Don't take my pronunciation or anything.
I've only ever said Troyes in my head. Just right before we started recording, got done reading about how they're looking at back-to-back relegations, scrambling, not being able to bring in anybody. They have this Savio player. A Citigroup gave him to Girona, and then their record signing was sent to Girona to get minutes and then sent to City without ever playing for their club. And they're facing back-to-back relegations, and it's awful. And City getting away with everything ever is a different conversation. But in this case, I think more people need to understand that the Citigroup purchased a club just to fucking kill it. And I think that's horrible. So,
I actually, without knowing, I knew that Troyes, per Mikey, I knew that they were part of the Citigroup because Eric Palmer Brown was there, and he was there through the Citigroup. I didn't know anything about the sort of the way that Citigroup was basically using them.
Record signing for the club, never played a minute.
That stinks. I mean, it stinks for the fans.
And he's great. He's awesome.
Okay, good shout. Mitchell, who you got?
I got a couple. One is Kai Havertz. Not only because, as I mentioned last podcast, he recognized me, but also because he blew up my parlay. That was just it was a beauty. I had Arsenal to win. I had Ben White to get carded, and I had an Odegaard assist, and Havertz in on goal off of an Odegaard ball, put it right into Allison's chest. It ended up in a goal, and we won, so I can't be too mad. But he's my Goa on both sides for that reason. And then I also have the World Cup script writers who have clocked in early now for Philadelphia. We'll get a game. We'll host a game on July 4th. It'll be a semifinal, and there is
quarterfinal.
A quarterfinal. Excuse me. Thank you. It'll be a quarterfinal, and you know that however the groups shake out, if England and the United States are in it, that will be played there in Philly. It'll be the 250th anniversary of 1776. And it'll be on July 4th. And I can already see the storylines. So good on the schedule makers and the script writers who I think work in the same room. That's going to be a fun one.
That's incredible. I didn't even put the 250th anniversary part together. That is incredible, and it will happen. I mean, it will happen at this point. So congrats to us for making the quarterfinal. All right, good shout. My goal is I got some honorable mentions. La Liga gets a special shout. They opened an investigation into whether Jude Bellingham called Mason Greenwood a rapist based on
based on him calling him a rapist.
Yeah.
Well, maybe all they did was they saw something, a video cut to Bellingham after he had tackled Greenwood. And it could have been the word coming out of his mouth might have been rapist that nobody knows, but they're apparently so interested in this that they're opening an investigation on it, which is just absolutely bananas for many reasons. Then a shout out to Antwerp Dynamite, which is a supporters group, I believe that supports Royal Antwerp. They set IEDs essentially to go off I know this is supporters groups they're going next level here. They left they planted some IEDs in the traveling supporters group section of a game that Royal Antwerp wasn't even playing, but it was in the beer shoot in the travelers section. They put IEDs that they then set off, and it wasn't an explosive device. It was a smoking device. It was basically a smoke bomb. But they set them to go off in the middle of the game, so their colors in the smoke went off in the middle of this supporters group. And as funny as that is, and sort of clever, and like I'll give them some golf claps, that's kind of scary that we're now moving into like IEDs, and it's like a half step away from some actual bad things happening. And how they got through security and all that is obviously, I mean, like all the stories are in Belgian, so I just couldn't. I used the Google Translate, so like it's all very.
And unfortunately, I know nothing else because I don't speak Dutch.
I don't Dutch or Belgian or whatever the hell, French or what, Flanders, I don't know, Flemish. I think that's the one I was looking for. Anyway, so I'll give a good and bad go there to Antwerp Dynamite.
Deserving. Well done. I was not familiar with your game.
Yes. And also one more honorable mention, Noah Khan. So Noah's been on the podcast several times. The last 12 months for him must be just insane. Like the guy was popular when he was coming on the podcast, but since then, like the last 12 months, he is basically like a megastar. He's like selling out, stadiums around the world. I saw he was in Australia the other month. He was just at the Grammys last night. He brought his mom. Well done, well played, sir. Looking all dapper and everything. He was nominated for, I think, definitely best new recording artist, I think, and maybe one other one. He didn't win. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying he was robbed. Listen, I'm not going to get into that, but I do think he was robbed. But listen, I mean, just shout out to Noah. It was just a few years ago that he was not only coming on the podcast, but we were going to Saturday kick around and just kicking the ball around on a Saturday before his concert at the House of Blues. he's just an awesome dude. So I could, it's great to see when people, are just good people sort of succeeding to the level that he has. And so shout out to Noah Khan on that one. I'll give my actual go though to the Booth brothers, the brothers Booth, who played against each other in the Dutch Eredivisie on Sunday, I believe it was. Was it Sunday? It was Utrecht and Volendam, and Taylor Booth scored a hat trick. No big deal. And I saw a lot of people responding on Twitter and on social media, Instagram, saying like, "Who is that?" Like Taylor Booth has been sort of a hot prospect for a while now. He was at Bayern Munich for a while. He's now been with Utrecht. I think this is his second season, if I'm not mistaken. And so listen, he's just scored a hat trick. Obviously, he's got skills. I know he'll be in the mix for the Olympics, I assume. But not only did he score a hat trick in that game, but his brother also scored in the game for the other team, for Volendam. Zach Booth scored. So his brother is 19 years old. Taylor Booth is 22 years old. The fact that they both scored in the same Eredivisie game is, I mean, incredible. The fact he had a hat trick, obviously extra props. But shout out to the brothers Booth. That is a hell of a week, and hopefully a lot more to come from them. So keep those names in mind: Taylor Booth and Zach Booth. All right. And listen, there was a lot more USMNT we could have gotten into. I think our guy Luca scored this week, so shout out Luca Della Torre. Josh Sargent scored, and there's a whole conversation to be had about where he is in the depth chart on the striking order. So we'll get to that in weeks to come. But for now, that's all we got. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. Of course, Mitchell and Mikey, you guys are the best. Thanks for hopping on. And we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, guys.